Download this code from codegive.com, link in the description below. Avoiding duplicate values in SQL insert queries is essential for maintaining data integrity in your database. There are several methods to ensure that duplicates are not inserted, including using constraints, checking for existing values before insertion, and leveraging features provided by the Database Management System, dbms. Below, I will provide an informative tutorial covering these methods along with code examples. 1. Using unique constraints. The most common way to prevent duplicate values is to define a unique constraint on the column S that should not allow duplicates. This method is enforced at the database level. Example: assume we have a table named users with the following structure. SQL. Create table users. ID int primary key. Email varchar, 255, unique. Username varchar, 50, unique. In this example, both the email and username columns are set with unique constraints. This means that attempting to insert a duplicate entry will result in an error. Inserting data. SQL. First insert, this will succeed. Insert into users, ID, email, username, values, 1, user at example.com, user 1. Second insert, this will succeed. Insert into users, ID, email, username, values, 2, another at example.com, user 2. Attempt to insert a duplicate email, this will fail. Insert into users, ID, email, username, values, 3, user at example.com, user 3. Error, duplicate entry user at example.com for key email. 2. Using insert ignore or on duplicate key update. Some databases like MySQL offer specific syntax to handle duplicates gracefully. Example with insert ignore. SQL. Insert ignore into users, ID, email, username, values, 3, user at example.com, user 3. This will not insert the row and will not throw an error. Example with on duplicate key update. SQL. Insert into users, ID, email, username, values, 3, user at example.com, user 3. On duplicate key update username equals update user 3. This will update the username of the existing entry instead of throwing an error. 3. Checking for existing values before insertion. Another approach is to explicitly check for the existence of a value before inserting it. This can be done using a select statement. Example: SQL. Check if the email already exists. If not exists, select one from users where email equals user at example.com, then insert into users, ID, email, username, values, 3, user at example.com, user 3. And if. This method is more verbose and not recommended for high concurrency environments as it can lead to race conditions. 4. Using transactions. In scenarios with high concurrency, you may want to wrap your insert logic in a transaction to maintain consistency. Example: SQL. Start transaction. Attempt to insert a new user. Insert into users, ID, email, username, values, 4, new user at example.com, new user. If a duplicate error occurs, handle it. If, select row underscore count, equals 0, then handle the duplicate case, example rollback, or log. Rollback. Else. Commit. And if. Conclusion. Choosing the right method to avoid duplicate values in SQL depends on your specific use case, the dbms you are using, and the level of control you need over data integrity. Here's a summary of the approaches. Unique constraints, best for enforcing data integrity at the database level. Insert ignore/on duplicate key update, convenient for MySQL users to handle duplicates without errors. Checking before insert, useful for custom logic but can lead to race conditions. Transactions, good for high concurrency scenarios to maintain consistency. Implementing these techniques will help you manage duplicate values effectively in your SQL databases. Avoiding duplicate values in SQL insert queries is crucial for maintaining data integrity in your database. There are several strategies you can employ to prevent duplication, including the use of unique constraints, primary keys, and conditional inserts. Below are some common methods along with code examples. 1. Use unique constraints. The most straightforward way to prevent duplicates is to define a unique constraint on the column S, where you want to avoid duplicates. Example table creation with unique constraint. SQL. Create table users. User ID int primary key. Email varchar, 255, unique. Name varchar, 100. In this example, the email column is marked as unique, which means that no two users can have the same email address. 2. Handle duplicates on insert. When inserting data, you can check for existing values before performing the insert. This can be done using a conditional statement. Example using insert. Select SQL. Insert into users, user ID, email, name. Select 1, example at example.com, John Doe. Where not exists. Select 1 from users where email equals example at example.com. In this example, the insert will only occur if there is no existing user with the email example at example.com. 3. Use insert ignore or on duplicate key update. In MySQL, you can use insert ignore to ignore duplicate key errors, or you can use on duplicate key update to update existing records if a duplicate key is found. Example using insert ignore. SQL. Insert ignore into users, user ID, email, name. Values, 2, example at example.com, Jane Doe. If a user with the same email already exists, the insert will be ignored without causing an error. Example using on duplicate key update. SQL. Insert into users, user ID, email, name. Values, 2, example at example.com, Jane Doe. On duplicate key update name equals Jane Doe. In this case, if a duplicate email is found, the existing record will be updated with the new name. 4. Using a stored procedure. If you have more complex logic, you might want to encapsulate your insert logic in a stored procedure. Example stored procedure. SQL. Delimiter // Create procedure insert user, in p_user ID int, in p_email varchar, 255, in p_name varchar, 100. Begin. If not exists, select one from users where email equals p_email, then insert into users, user ID, email, name, values, p_user ID, p_email, p_name. And if n // delimiter, you can then call this procedure to insert users. SQL. Call insert user, 3, example at example.com, Alice. 5. Use transactions. When performing multiple inserts, use a transaction to ensure that all operations are atomic. This way, you can roll back if an error occurs during the insert. Example using transactions. SQL. Start transaction. Begin. Insert into users, user ID, email, name. Values, 3, unique at example.com, Bob. On duplicate key update name equals Bob. Other inserts can go here. Commit. Conclusion. To avoid duplicate values in SQL insert queries, you can utilize unique constraints, conditional inserts, and built-in mechanisms like insert ignore or on duplicate key update. Depending on your specific requirements and the database system you are using, you can choose the most appropriate method. Always remember to design your database schema with data integrity in mind to minimize the need for these checks at the application level.